Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing great. Welcome on my show on Tune In with Rashmi. There is so much we keep hearing about women and children safety, gender equality, and so many incidents happening around this. And many a times we don't know of what was the right thing that should have been done or how it should have been dealt with. Today we have amongst us a very special guest who is going to enlighten us on these with her inputs and her special expertise. Please welcome our special guest for today, Mrs. Raina Khatri Tandon. She is the founder of Right to Rise, top 20 posh specialist in the country, promoting inclusiveness, maintaining ethical workplaces by creating strategies with a heart. Right to Rise is India's first and only ISO certified organization, taking pride in spanning over many global clients as well, worldwide. Raina is a breakthrough coach and has been felicitated as Global 100 Mentors, United Nations Rex Karamveer Award 2019, and felicitated by World HRD Congress and UBS Transformance as Women Excellence Award 2019 to 2020. She is also leading Maharashtra chapter head for Global Women Economic Forum in training and entrepreneurship. She is also the World Women Summit 2020 Global Ambassador for Sustainable UN Goals for Gender Equality, Inclusiveness, and UN Chartered Human Rights. And well, this is not it. She also speaks 12 languages. So please welcome this multi-talented, multifaceted person, Raina. A very warm welcome to you, Raina. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Rashmi, and thank you very much for having me at your channel. It's indeed an interesting moment to share this platform with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raina. Having had so many feathers in your cap already and having won so many awards globally, we would like to know about your journey on how you went on to become from a chip design engineer and also an advocate to a posh and POXO specialist and a human rights expert.
Right. So women have always been wearing many hats, lives of being a daughter, being a sister, being a student, being a breadwinner. So I would just say I'm human, because all that matters and comes down is that even though we wear so many crowns, including the crown of being motherhood or crown of being a daughter, very importantly, we need to understand that wearing this means that we have crossed all the borders of challenges and we love us more than anybody else, and that's why we're able to nurture so many hands. Now, the second part of your question as to how do we juggle around this and how did I come into this world of posh POXO, safety of women, children, and creating safety and ethical workspaces. I think just like another normal individual, Raina has also been born and brought up in, one strange thing is I'm a North Indian born and brought up in south part of India. So I am somebody who's produced at Chennai, though I'm Sindhi Punjabi, and yes, now I hail in Mumbai. Having an expertise of knowing about 12 different languages, I also like to connect with people, which has become a part of me, and I don't do it with any intent. It just comes out to me flawlessly, like just we probably do any of our course in the morning. How did I have this transformation? Yes, there's always been a transformation, and every time we emerge from that. So the first transformation was becoming one in my family who plunged into an entrepreneurship journey rather than being a businesswoman, of heading what my father does, or probably being an individual working with the organizational sector like my husband does. But I have a background of VLSI chip design engineering. So from designing chips, suddenly why designing lives was because a lot of transformational events occurred in my life, knowingly, unknowingly. I did want to take my first plunge after I did my engineering into getting into learning a more creative background at that time, around 20 years back, which was more about designing chips. So as I was designing chips and working extensively in the hardware engineering part, many a times my father used to ask me, why this? Why do you really want, being a woman, why do you really want to get into this? So I said, I want to be somebody who's very unique. I don't want to do something which everybody else does. So, and this is what I feel I'm passionate about, because designing chips not only designs the entire foundation of every technology that you're using today, whether it is a gadget like telephone or probably going up to an iPad or iPhone or any more of the technology prone devices that we are into, including gaming, because everything that is grounded is something that is based in your chips. Okay, so I like to be the ground of everything that seeds out. Little did I know that time that, I want to become this person of being a limitless enabler, again starting with that seed. Because if the seed is not bowled rightly, then probably the plant that comes out may be not completely the plant that you're looking at an exploration stage. So I like to be that initial start provider to everybody who creates the breakthroughs in their life. The second thing that happened in my life was when one of my elder people in the family passed away. When I saw that there were people who poured in from all parts of the globe to the funeral of my grandparents, and that really shocked me. Is why should somebody come from far and wide to a place just to convey condolences or probably send down letters of the love and the affection that they had? But in today's scenario, if you see, we had such superficial worlds that even when we have to wish somebody, we directly put a message or we directly put a WhatsApp. We don't get time to even connect and say, hey, how are you doing? So I think I say today Rena is also a different person there, because every day she makes an attempt to at least connect to few people who matter in her life. So that makes me secondly unique. And thirdly, because of this transformation, I thought that, I don't know how big or how small I make it, but all I know that I'm a learner for life. I constantly keep learning. Don't have any rat race that I need to look up to. And the third thing is that if they have left a mark in their life, in somebody's life, then at least I can create that legendary experience of being an impactful woman, a person of real value, rather than just being there in the superficial world just like others. So I wish to become that limitless enabler, that you can say the lamp of what the shine comes in, the sparkle of other people's eyes, so that somewhere they feel that yes, this lady made a difference in my life. So yes, that's the journey. And why Posh and Poxo? Just like you and just like many others, I too plunged from my 9-to-5 journey because I felt that there was some void in my life, and I wanted to fulfill it by something which is more connecting to the people, more giving away to society, and probably making it a business aspect, because without money, growth, and a fulfillment of your goals, you are heading nowhere like a ship without a goal. So I would say all those things matter, but somewhere when you are going in that journey, you want to see the satisfaction that you get in your work. And that came in through Posh and Poxo, because everything comes down and boils down for me for my ethics, my respect, my dignity and rights. And if I am looking at myself to be empowering others, then I should be at least giving and gaining respect. And so everything to do with respect, dignity, it's nothing to do about women, man or child here, it's about everybody. So I see Posh and Poxo as a medium where I can create that space where everybody is able to respect each other, provide a space of conducive, safe, healthy working environment.
Absolutely amazing and very lovely thoughts, Rena. I think your journey, that when you ventured out to do something unique, out from your family business, and now what you have achieved is not only for yourself, but you want to become a catalyst in transforming people's lives. That is something really amazing. And I can definitely relate to you on this, because myself, I was a banker initially, and even my aim is to transform people's lives today. So very inspiring, Rena, your journey from your, becoming a chip design engineer to a Posh and Poxo specialist and a human rights expert. It was lovely hearing that out. Now, since you have been in this field and you are a specialist on Posh and Poxo, what are your thoughts on women's safety and also children's safety in today's scenario?
Yeah, so women's safety is very much an individualistic factor, I would say. I think safety to me means different, safety to you means different. When we talk about empowering or creating an expression in people's life, being an enabler, being a matter of change, being a catalyst, being an inducement, all that you can do is not change the person completely, because a person changes only when he wishes to change. Same is with the areas of safety. If I want to be safe, then I have to do something to be safe. So I cannot just go and say, okay, I enable you with the law today and you become safe tomorrow. A lot of people come back to me and say, oh, now that we all have done awareness, that we are really, really aware, now we are a POSH compliance system. I say, no, that's not the only requirement. Just for knowing POSH or POXO, you don't become a safe and compliant system, because a safe and compliant system can only be developed. Your safety can only be developed when you bring the change in mindsets in the people at your home, people in your environment, people in your ecosystem. So it could be school, it could be college, it could be society, it could be family, it could be extended family. If you're not going to teach your children and your setup what is good, what is bad, what is safe, what is not safe, what you should be knowing as terminologies, because we as parents also run away from safety factors. We say, oh, maybe our child don't really need to know these words, but actually your child needs to know them at a tender age of say 5 or 6, because by then, even if you're not enabling them, they already know it. They know it from the environment that they are in. Because we are actually very fastly progressing in 22nd century, and in the era of AI and robotics and gaming and gadgets and everything, everything is fast moving. So safety becomes very pertinent to each one of us. I would say, okay, Rashmi, for you it is like probably downloading a virus app, or probably having the safe lock keys on any of your devices, or not sharing passwords. But that may not be relevant in my setup, because I already have separate devices for everybody. And all they need to do is to be safe and monitor how much time are they on it. So I don't need to generate a password, because every device is very, very individually using, and I don't share my devices with somebody else's devices. But when I am giving that device to my child, I keep a tab that, once it is 45 minutes, then it blacks out. So there are blackout apps, and the gadget can completely go into a sleep mode, and it doesn't come back no matter what come may, because it's password protected by the parent app. So that helps them not only come to an understanding that, this is all I get during the day, and it will avoid any kind of tantrum throwing that, you go pull the gadget, or you go and tell him, okay, do this, do that, because that's all what you get. And that is decided, that is accepted by you. How you use it is now up to you and your hands. So that way it helps. So safety comes into that. Of course, there are norms, there are government, there are POSH Act, there is POXO Act, there is cyber security rules. I work into cyber safety as well. There is human rights that I work into as. So in Right to Rise, we use organizational connectives. In RKD Foundation, we have our social or CSR initiatives that's helping the people who cannot afford services like an NGO or a trust. So that's all about my thoughts on safety.
Dr. Reina, I think you have brought about some very important aspects. One is, even though there is awareness everywhere, we need to make sure that from within we are what we are, and especially towards our children. If we don't create that right awareness, then they would get the information somehow or the other. So getting the right awareness at the right time is one important aspect that you've brought about. And you also gave a very nice input into how we can actually control the use of gadgets and, make them, work properly. And could you give some more inputs into, in today's world, everything is happening in the virtual mode. Work from home has become the new normal, and schooling, trainings, everything is online. So is there any possibility that safety or dignity of women could be at risk in this online mode? You have given one very good input into how we can control that towards children. What about safety for women? Is there any inputs you would share?
So very valid and very beautifully put out question, Rashmi, I should say. Mostly when we talk about safety, being a legal practitioner, we only always are iterating about ACT, the government of India, the norms, the constitutional, the human rights, and everything that has been given by a legal body or legal entity. I would say all those things are existing since many years, right? It's not that we have the act or we don't have these rights now since 2013 just because the act has become so prevalent. We had these provisions even long before, and rape, pornography, or any other form of non-safe elements were existing even before and even exist now after the act. So more than you knowing the act, because act तो आपको पढ़ा लेंगे या act तो पढ़ा हुआ है या government ने आपको provide किया है, वीडियोस दिए गए हैं, आपको क्या क्या करना चाहिए, कहाँ कहाँ क्या करना चाहिए. For example, you go on a cab, you go in for a night shift, you go into a call center, you go in when you're traveling. Already there are certain provisions that are given to women. We tell all the time that, when you're using Ola, when you're using Uber, when you're booking cabs, you should be taking photographs of the drivers, taking care whether the cab number provided in the app and the one you're sitting down is the same, whether the driver seems safe, whether you have actually messaged back to your loved ones that you're sitting in this cab and you are at this particular location. In spite of that, people don't maintain that. Okay, they take it very casually. Or if people are hacked down on Facebook or any other apps of social media like Tinder or Instagram or anywhere, we still have people who will always keep coming to you and saying, oh, you look beautiful, you look hot, you look sexy, you're a babe. Why don't you come with me for a drink, a dinner, or a date? But how do you actually handle all this depends on the resilience and the silence that you have within to control the mindset of the person who's there. It's not about the act, it's not about the provisions. Women today are highly empowered. They know how to maintain themselves. I don't need to tell a woman how she needs to be dressed. I don't need to tell a woman what she needs to wear. I don't need to tell a woman how she needs to take care of herself. And even though we have these wonderful politicians, like since 2-3 days, we have this Uttarakhand chief minister who's making halla that, just because he saw a lady on the airplane who's wearing torn jeans, and just because she is also having a husband from JNU University, very well educated, having 2 children, and she's running a trust, does that mean she can't wear what she likes? I mean, wearing torn jeans, yeah, it may or may not be culture, what we are saying today. But if she likes it, that's completely her call. And how she maintains this, how she carries herself, how is that she's able to convey herself to the crowd? If somebody mishandles her, how does she take that effect and answer back? If she's quite confident and if she's able to make the stance there, then it's completely okay. So today I will not say that people who go out and say, children should be knowing only good touch, bad touch. Women should not be wearing this kind of clothes, a cleavage clothes or a V shape or a U shape or a cut one or this one. I would never do anything like that in any of my trainings or any of my workshops. I would always say the man should be more focused about what he thinks, how he thinks, and the mindset he carries towards women in terms of a growth, in terms of a career, in terms of a pay, and in terms of the opportunities that he's ready to give, even if she's growing higher to him. And the woman should be very careful as to how she projects herself out to a society. If she is a very bleak and a very meek person and she can't probably speak up, then you might as well wear something that is covered and you're able to carry. If you are a bold and a boisterous woman, and if you are able to carry bold clothes, courageous clothes, horrid comments, somebody who gives you a very sharp comment in terms of your looks or your tattoos or your body marks or any kind of a body shape, then you should be bold enough to say, look, that should be my problem and not yours. Why is that you need to compliment or comment on something that is not pertaining to you? If you don't carry that kind of an attitude, then probably you will have a problem. So if we have that clarity, what man has to do towards women and women have to do towards man, and an openness to welcome other genders like the LGBTQ+, where we have around 6-7 other genders who are there in society today, understanding that there is an open space that also includes them and we need to welcome them. It's not that we shun them away. It's not that we see them as a very undignified kind of a society that we have, but giving them equal respect, at least giving them a space that, yes, you exist, we welcome you, you have your own openness of going and exploring the market, working, sitting with us, eating with us, and they're just individuals like you and me, so why not just be human? So that is my perspective about this. Women are good enough to be safe, and if you feel that the environment is not safe, like for example, you have certain areas in Bihar, Patna, Chhattisgarh, UP, Delhi, all, you know that the environment is not safe. So don't become a daredevil and say you are a superwoman and just walk out in the dark or walk out into areas which are not safe. Saying that no, I think today's woman is very empowered, and Rena has already said that. It's not about Rena, it's about also the situation and place that you are in. So be careful of that also. And if you really need self-defense, if you really need to learn karate, if you really need to learn certain things that brings in that confidence and courage into you, go ahead and learn it. Nobody stops you. Today is an open world to learn. So you should just be worried about how you carry yourself, and that defines your safety.
Very well said, Rena. I think you've made a very apt point that if you can bear it, then wear it. So if you can carry it, then wear whatever you want and show off that attitude depending on where you are and what kind of people are around you. It's very important. It's very imperative, I would say, that be very self-cautious of what the situation is all about. And you've also brought about a very important aspect of gender equality. And not only now we don't have two, we have a couple of genders, and creating a conducive environment, because everybody here is a created version of the creator. Everybody has their own uniqueness and their own creativity. And I think every single soul in this world is adding and giving in their best to make it a better world. So we should make it a welcoming world for all kind of genders. So now you are the World Women Summit 2020 Global Ambassador for Sustainable UN Goals for Gender Equality. So I would like you to share some more thoughts on this, of the importance and what as a person, as an individual, what we should do to make it more conducive for everybody around us. Any thoughts on that?
I think the United Nations, the world, the government, the constitution, all of them are actually working towards it, so that they want every nation to be a part of the sustainable goals. But sustainability, growth, gender bias, judgments, all this can only take a movement when we take care of India's patriarchal society. Only when we can change the mindset of every woman and man who's there in the house. Okay, whatever said and gone, whatever said in the offices, whatever said in the organizations, when a man returns home, I see that every time he looks at a woman to give her a glass of water. And that's there in more than 95% of the houses. I don't see the other way working in many of the houses, even though we say today, yes, maybe once in a way, yes, we do ask for water and they give it to us. But how many of the families actually have their men saying, okay, fine, I see you're very tired, talking to their mothers and fathers and saying, it's fine, let's just have something from outside, I can see my wife really tired. How many of them actually speak up? Now here is the difference between what I quote and what other people. It's not about the women always speaking up. Let's change the entire ball game. Let's change the coin and say it's about the men changing now. It's not about the women changing. Why do you always expect that the women should be changing? Why do you always expect the women should speak up? If the women are not speaking up, the silence shows that over a period of years, they have tried speaking up, but they have been bogged down to silence. Now it is the time that the man speaks up and speaks up for her equality, for her justice, for her placing, and also understanding that, she's an individual of her own. Why should we not give her that space? Why should we not allow her to just live her life the way she has, as the constitutional rights say? Dignity of life, dignity of respect, dignity of working wherever she wishes to, dignity of inequality being removed. Why don't we create that equal expression of work, play, occupation, and choosing whatever she wishes in her life? So it's about speaking up from the men gender. It's about understanding and bringing the equality to settle. If these things are going to be working, then UN and government and justice and law and order don't need to keep on screaming and their guts out telling that, we need to work on sustainable goals. The goals will be met even without setting them. Yes, we have been speaking a lot about creating much more initiatives. The initiatives have to now become smaller, focused, and area specific. It has to be in communities, it has to be in schools, it has to be in offices. That is why we say when we do a lot of POSH awareness in the organizations, and they are on many empanelment member and many companies, when we are working in India, abroad, and many other countries on the POSH laws and anti-sexual harassment laws, or in many schools and colleges, we are trying to create this ecosystem where inbuilt in the schools or college or universities or the firms and organizations, there are communities that provide support. There are communities where men can see both sides of the coin, women can see the understanding and the body language can be conveyed, or they consult and convey what the other lady is trying to say but not able to say. So sometimes we say silence speaks 1,000 words, but just like a picture, we can always misinterpret many perspectives. So a woman's face and her body language also gives too many perspectives. So men are always confused. So let's break those shackles and create some kind of a midway bridge where things just fall in place like a puzzle piece, and then the other goals will be completely fulfilled, whether they are sustainability goals or equality goals or gender parity goals. And we don't need so many laws to grow ahead. It will be so much easier to implement POSH laws and POSCO laws, and a much more better system to place, rather than making it a tick mark training or maybe a money racket to play.
Absolutely, Raina. I think again you have spoken on something which is the need of the hour, need of the society. Not only the society, because a society, an entire nation can be transformed if women as well as men are empowered. They say that only women are empowered, but I would say everyone needs to grow together, because if one plans to go ahead alone, he can just go faster. But if one plans to grow with everyone, then he can go further. So that should be the need of the hour. And Raina, you're also a human rights expert from Harvard. So would you like to share some thoughts on rights of everybody in general? Not only women, but everyone.
Yeah, so the first right, I would say our human rights have about many different rights that we have incorporated under the human rights calendar of, and in human rights, we just go and empower people about what are their rights first. Because talking about human rights is not talking big. Talking about human rights is making the people understand, whether they are men and women, that you have these rights. First, know about them. Whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom of education, whether it's freedom of empowerment in terms of going ahead and providing any kind of equal spaces, or even for your children to grow, they don't even know the basic rights. And I would always say human rights is basically a very natural kind of a topic where we are just trying to bring in, what does India say, what are the moral principles that we carry, what are the behaviors that everybody needs to know in terms of ethics, origin, location, eliciting different kinds of fundamental rights that are entitled already in the books. And these are all universally accepted and there. It's just that in India we don't follow it because we don't know of it. So my entire intent in human rights is that all of us are already equal. We already have rights. We already know that we have freedom of speech or religion or liberty or life or anything else, freedom to do any activity. But let's not become slave to our own self first. Okay, number one is that we are always a slave of ourselves. We procrastinate. We go back into this shell that we are not good enough, and then added to that, we have a lot of people in the social media or people out there who are always there to bog you down. So recognize that already human has been given a standard of living. We already are dignified in the society, and we don't need to look out for that. Secondly, when we talk about human rights, I want people to understand that your children, your women, everybody who's around you have certain rights, and these rights are given to them no matter they like it or not. So some people say, why should my woman marry, or why should my women go and work, or why should my child do this work, she should be doing that work. Now, to decide whether the child is doing something, or the wife is doing something, or the education, or the freedom of religion, or freedom of liberty, of maybe a small thing. Suppose you have a teen daughter and somebody comes up and says, I want to have a live-in relationship. Of course, we don't have it in our culture. But if tomorrow the child is saying, no, I would like to at least know the person, there can be a competent bridge of you bringing up to him and saying, look, we don't have this thing in our culture, but yes, you can take your sweet time to probably know the person. If you really like him, then we go ahead and we talk. But if the person is saying, no, I'm just going to have a live-in relation and then go ahead and decide, then the freedom of moving out to a residence, whether it's inside India, outside India, is completely the person's call, because he's not going to stop there. We are in 22nd century. So let's understand what is viable and then do it. The other thing is relationships, where people are always lingering and they have always an issue. There is a difference between POSH Act and Domestic Violence Act. And now that we are having work from home, always people are confusing within POSH and domestic violence. So when we talk about rights, we need to bring in the most important rights that are highlighted in both of them. And so when we talk about this Domestic Violence Act, most of the time the men feel, no, I'm the breadwinner and that's what I've been carrying on, because my people have always been teaching me this over the years. This is how my system works. And it's very difficult to tell them that, this is not how your system works or what your parents or your grandparents have taught you. This is what the law says. Whether you like it or not, let's follow it. And if you're not going to follow, there will be repercussions. So that's where the human rights come into effect. So I see it instilled in our personal and professional lives all the time. Whether it's code of conduct, whether it's humanitarian grounds, whether it's anti-sexual harassment laws, whether it is harassment laws, whether it is anti-dating policies, whether it is transgender rights, whether it's Domestic Violence Act, it's all there. It's just a different title of human rights, and we trying to enable the people, so I have this right too. So I am capable of doing this much as well. So if I have this, then why not I explore my life into something better? Why not I become much more productive and much more a person who can touch other people's life who are suffering? Because there are loads of people. We have 1.3 billion people today. I don't think all of them are happy. Otherwise, we would be the most happiest nation in the world. So let's uplift each other through the possibility of safety, justice, equality, human rights, and all these things which are surrounded with us, because with me, it resonates a lot and they are all interconnected. If it connects with you and if you are with me on the same grounds of thought process, then I think you should be the next one who can come and join us, whether it's at Right to Rise or RKT Foundation, and drive the force ahead to make this nation a much more beautiful society to live in, for us and for your children.
I think what you've spoken about and what you're already doing is already so much inspiring. Through Right to Rise and RKT Foundation, you are trying to spread awareness, you are trying to empower people, women, about various things. And the inputs that you've given us today on POSH, POCSO, human rights, gender equality, and everything around. I think all this is very much required. It's the need of the hour to uplift a nation on the whole. So I would definitely like to contribute and do something and get ahead, bring people together on this. And within this short span of time, the inputs that you have given us, I'm sure that our audience have also got a very clear idea on all these aspects. And if they would like to know, definitely they'll get in touch with me so that I can get in touch with you on this. Thank you so much, Reina, for your valuable inputs and your precious time. I know you have a very busy schedule, but giving out your time and this knowledge that you have shared with us is going to reach people and help them out. I hope our audience also have enjoyed this and gained a lot of insights with this expert inputs by Reina. So thank you so much, Reina. It was a pleasure having you over. Thank you. And
thank you so much. I'll just leave my last line of thoughts for you. Remember, guys, safety starts with you. If safety is like a lock, then you are the key. If it's unsafe, please remove it, report it, replace it. It's better to talk now than to become unsafe and suffer later. So accidents don't happen by chance, only you make it happen. So safety starts with you. Stay safe, stay happy, and always keep empowering. Thank you so much, Rashmi. Thank you for having me here.
Well said, Reina. Thanks a lot once again. I thank all my lovely audience for hearing us out. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much. Take care and see you soon.